Hey everybody, it's Dr. V. I'm going to do a quick karmic connection reading for those of you divine lovers whose counterpart is in a karmic situation. Now, when we think of karmic situations, we often think about having a karmic romantic partner, someone that they're married to, something like that. But it can also be, just keeping in mind, that it can also be other karma. So it can be karma between their parents, karma between other people in their lives. So although it most often applies to karmic intimate relationships, it can also apply to others. And I just wanted to go ahead and put that out there for those of you that are kind of wondering, well, my partner doesn't have, or my divine counterpart doesn't have a karmic, so maybe this doesn't apply. It can apply. Just, as always, take the messages as they resonate. I'm going to cut the deck and get started here. So I'm going to do, I'll just lay the cards out. So here is the divine counterparts cards. And I'll jump into the interpretation shortly. Here is the Karmics cards. Trying to make sure you can see this. It's conflict and defeat, disruption, and trapped in fear. And how they connect in this lifetime. Victory and success. I'm using the John Holland Psychic Tarot in case you are curious about what deck I'm using. And I've got a couple of others over here for clarifiers if we need them. And standing your ground. And how to resolve the karma, because that's what we all want to know, right? How do we move beyond the karma? Let me adjust a little bit. So I'll lay the cards out and then I will jump into the interpretation. So here we go. Very, very different energies between the two right now. This one is actually really coming through as a romantic karmic. So just wanted to clarify that. The first card that we pulled for the divine counterpart, and this can be for your divine masculine or your divine feminine. It really is whoever in the partnership has a karmic relationship. And so this is prosperity begins. This is in the material world. This is things happening. So this is he or she is having success, maybe new opportunities. Things are starting to work out. They're feeling really good. It's a new beginning. It's a number one. It's, you know, the seeds that have been planted a long time ago are coming to fruition and they're starting to see the fruits of their labor. So your divine counterpart is feeling really good. He or she is feeling like things are starting to happen. It's a new beginning card. And right after that, new beginnings. Actually, we pulled the solar plexus chakra, so let me jump into that before I go into the new beginnings card. But sorry, I'm trying to make sure I have it in the right spot. The solar plexus chakra is all about willpower, vitality, having power, standing in their own power. It's the belief in the ability that one has to accomplish what they want. So for a long time, the divine counterpart in this relationship was probably feeling like he or she didn't have what it takes, and he or she was not feeling competent, was not feeling great, was not feeling super strong. And now they're starting to feel that. Now they're starting to feel like they have gotten in touch, that chakra has been opened up. They're feeling more competent, they're feeling more capable, and because of that, they are feeling more able to move into their willpower, into stepping into what they truly want. So this can be, maybe they were stuck in indecision, maybe they were stuck in fear, maybe they were like, I really want to do something different, but I'm afraid, I don't know what to do. And now they're moving out of that energy into I can, and they're starting to believe that they can actually do what they want. And the final card that we pulled for the divine counterpart is new beginnings. This is in the traditional tarot, the full card. It's a 0. It's literally a new beginning. It's the energy around your divine counterpart is a new beginning. So what I'm getting from this is that all of the stuckness, the stagnancy, the fears, the inability to move forward is moving through. They're moving through that and have moved through that. They may not have moved through it physically. So if there is a karmic that is, the karmic relationship is still in the physical, it's still happening, that may be the case for some people, that they haven't actually physically taken the steps, but energetically and spiritually they're already out of there. Like, it's already over. They're not energetically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually connected to that situation anymore. And so expect to see shifts happening. Give me 1 second. I need to plug in so that we don't lose the video. So give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Kind of love technology, but it does have its pitfalls at times, such as making sure you're fully charged before you start doing anything. So just 1 second, guys. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to jump right in now to the next part of the reading, which is the energy around the karmic. So the first one that was pulled was conflict and defeat. So these are, I mean, this is someone, I mean, if you just look, it's a person that just, it looks like they just came out of the, what is that called in Rome where they used to, gladiators? Anyway, I mean, they just came out of that and they're just feeling like they got their butt kicked. Maybe just came out of a WWE fight and they're just exhausted and feel defeated. So whether there's a conflict in the physical relationship, I'm not really sensing that. I'm sensing that there may be some discord and some conflict, but what I'm really getting is that on the inside. What I'm picking up is that the karmic is very aware of what's happening over here, that the karmic has been trying for a really long time to hold on to something and to keep the connection, and has begun to realize, again, at least on an energetic level, this may not be conversations that are happening, this may not be things that are actually going down, but it is in the physical. I mean, but it's something that is there, that he or she is very aware of on a physical or on a spiritual, emotional, and intuitive level. And this card right here, the next one that came up, is disruption. And in the traditional tarot, this is a tower. And this is an external event that comes in that causes things to fall apart. So there may be something that is going on, maybe something that he or she will find out, maybe something that's just an external thing that will happen. And when I see the tower, it's sort of that sense of and I've said this before, that quote, let go or be dragged. When I see towers coming in, it's usually because what people are doing is they're ignoring what Spirit is telling them. So Spirit has been saying for a while for this connection that this is not your final resting point. This is not your stopping point. This is not where you're supposed to be. And neither one of them have been listening. Neither one of them have paid attention. They've both, the divine and the karmic, the divine counterpart and the karmic have ignored that, because, that means that they have to face stuff that they don't want to deal with, and it makes things uncomfortable. And so they've been ignoring the signs and ignoring what's going on. And so the universe is kind of like, okay, well, I gave you an opportunity to listen. You're not listening on your own, so I don't have any choice but to send something in to disrupt it, to bring it all down, to tear down the house of cards that you've built up so that you can see things for what they are. And the final card for the karmic in this situation is trapped in fear. So again, what I get from this is a person who, at least energetically, and I'm really picking up that on an more conscious level as well, is aware that things are not going well. They're aware that their partner, your divine counterpart has checked out. Like they're aware of it. They know that this is that's happening. But they also know that they're not happy. They also know that this isn't what they want. They want to have something that's meaningful and that's powerful and that's beautiful. And they're not getting that in this situation, and they know it. But they're afraid to take any chances. They're afraid to speak their truth and to say what they want to say. But this really is a mental prison. It's a prison of their own making. It's not, there's really nothing outside of them that is stopping them. It's just their own fears. And so as the karmic moves through the fear, he or she will be more able to speak his or her truth and be able to stand up and say, you know, this isn't really what I want, and what's going on here. And I feel like this is happening. This energy feels very big, and it feels like it's happening. I wouldn't be surprised if there were those major disruptions and things started to fall apart, like the tower, in a very short period of time within this connection, because it's overdue. It's long overdue. And when you ignore things, the universe will do what the universe needs to do. So how do they connect in this lifetime? So two of these cards that were pulled, the Stand Your Ground and the Victory and Success card, both come from the spiritual suite. So it tells me that this is definitely a soul connection. It's karmic. This is energy that has been shared from a previous life. And so when I see the Victory and Success card as how they connect in this lifetime, what I get from that is that there were certain things, certain victories that they were supposed to help each other accomplish. There were certain successes that were necessary, and that's great, right? That's sometimes we need people in our lives that will come in and that will help us and that will support each other along the journey. And when that happens, it's great. You thank them for their presence in your life, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to always be there. So just because someone is an important part of your life in a certain area, and helping you get through some tough times, or helping you, or you help them get through college or whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stay together. It doesn't necessarily mean that because you had some victory and success at one stage in your life that you have to continue to try and replicate that through the rest of your life. And I see that with a lot of couples, that they feel obligated and they feel duty bound to each other. And that's a karmic thing. That really comes from old patriarchal ideas that you have to stay together, that you have to work things out, that the person that you chose when you're 18 is the person that you should stay with. So those are all things that I believe that that's some of the karma that's being worked out, is that recognizing that someone that may be vital to your life at one point in the journey doesn't necessarily always have to be there for the rest of the journey. And that's okay to say that. It's okay to move on in that sense. So the next card that came up is the crown chakra. So this is how they are, again, connected in this life. And the crown chakra is about knowing. Okay, so this is about the connection to your higher self, to higher consciousness, to wisdom, to higher spirituality. It is about, it's really about the connection to the universe. And I feel like a lot of people who end up in these karmic relationships don't have a great connection with the universe, because if you did, you would know that this is karmic and you'd be able to discern when it's time to move on. And so part of what they're both learning in this is how to get in touch with their higher selves, how to get in touch with their spirituality. So when they start feeling these feelings like being trapped in fear and all of those feelings, that they can tune into their higher self and their spirituality and get the wisdom that they need, and that they can not ignore that. So part of this is that they're learning how not to ignore that. So a lot of people, and I see this all the time in my former work as a psychologist, I'd see this all the time with couples that would come in for counseling, and they would, it's like their relationship had been dead for 10 years and they were trying to resurrect it. And it was like, this isn't a good situation. And it was because they weren't listening to their higher self and to their higher knowing, because they were trapped in fear and they were afraid of what would happen if they did that. And so what I'm getting is that the connection for them in this life is to be able to help each other understand that it's okay to listen to your higher self and to your higher wisdom, and to move from that space. And that the experiences that they're having, the conflict, the defeat, the disruption, the fear, all of those things that are present are going to help them to learn to trust this higher wisdom. So after things are resolved, the karma is resolved in that situation, I have the sense that one or both will be saying, I knew a long time ago that this was not the situation that I wanted to be in, but I didn't listen to myself. And this is going to help them to resolve that. And the last card that we drew for this was the Stand Your Ground card. So standing your ground is really about knowing where you are and who you are, and being willing to stand up for yourself and for your highest good. So it's about being able to say, you know what, I am going to stand my ground. This is my truth. This is what I want. This is what I need. This is where I am. I'm not going to surrender and give up because on my dreams, on myself, on what I need, because it's not comfortable for you. This is the ability to stand up for yourself, and it's the ability to stand for your own highest good, even when it's against what other people might want or what other people might think is best. The other piece of it is, again, going back to that, when I said the victory and success and people staying in relationships and situations much longer than they should, there's also a piece of that. There's also a piece of resolving that idea that you have to stand your ground, even when it's detrimental to you. So standing your ground is a great thing in many circumstances, but there are situations where people stand their ground and this is where it becomes stubborn, it becomes obtuse, and they're not listening to their higher selves, and they're staying in a situation because they think that's what they should do, and that's not a good thing. So this is about achieving balance and standing your ground. So it's that idea of as the song The Gambler says, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And so this is a situation of saying, I'm going to stand my ground for my highest good. I'm no longer going to let myself and my life be dictated by what other people think I should be doing, or by what society tells me I ought to be doing. But I'm going to stand my ground for my highest good. And I'm not going to be stubborn or obtuse and stay in a situation that's far too long, that I shouldn't stay in, because it's just not a good situation. So that's the karma that they're currently working on. And so how to resolve the karma. The first one is the material, it's from the material suite, and it's material and spiritual prosperity. So what I get from this is that allow yourself, how the karma will be resolved is to start allowing themselves as individuals to receive the material and spiritual prosperity that the universe wants to give to them. So it's about opening up to the goodness of the universe. I also notice with this card that the character is looking away. And so there's a piece of that energy of looking away and recognizing that maybe the material and the spiritual prosperity that you want and that you're craving in this connect is not going to be found in this connection, that you have to start looking elsewhere, that you have to start saying, okay, what areas of my life are not working? And if it's this karmic relationship, to understand that it's okay to look elsewhere and to move on and to look in a different direction. And I get from the spiritual prosperity is about allowing oneself to tap into that higher knowing, into that wisdom, and to allow the divine to support you and to prosper you in wisdom and prosper you in your ventures. Okay. The second card that was pulled was the Power card. So this is, how do they resolve this karma? Is step into their power. Get out of that fear, right? That fear is like a disempowered space. Fear is not a place where you can do a whole lot from. But when you step into your power and you know who you are, and you know your truth, and you know your values, and you know what you want, you know what you stand for, then you can step into your power in a really strong way. So what I'm seeing here actually is this sort of transformation from Clark Kent to Superman, or the transformation from the Wonder Woman character where she's like in the museum curator, and she's really, you know, kind of soft spoken and she's kind of nerdy looking, and then she becomes Wonder Woman and she's like kicking ass and taking names. It's that same thing, that when they're in the fear, I'm not saying that Superman and Wonder Woman in their normal day-to-day are in fear, but just stick with the analogy with me. When they're in fear, when any person is in fear, they're not able to tap into their power. And then they're a little bit more reserved and mousy, and people don't see them, and people don't respect them, and people are not hearing them. And then you step into your Wonder Woman, Superman energy, and you suddenly are in your power. You are kicking ass, taking names, no holds barred. And so how they resolve the karma is to step into their power, each of them individually, to say, I know who I am, I know what I want, and I'm going to get it. And not being so afraid of the potential consequences that might come. And the last card that was pulled is Deception and Envy. So there's two messages that are coming through with this. And the first message that's coming through is that they both need to stop lying to themselves. And I don't believe that we actually have the ability to lie to ourselves, because deception involves knowing. When you lie to someone, you know that you're deceiving them. It's not an accident. You know that you're not being honest. And so people, when they say they're lying to themselves, well, then they know that they're deceiving themselves. That's not really accurate. But the point is that they have to stop the self-deception. Both of them have to get really honest about what's going on in the situation, and to look at it from a more objective standpoint. Is this really what I want? Is this really what's good for me? Is this, a good situation for the other person? What needs to change? Am I willing to do the work to change it? And if not, then maybe I need to consider stepping out of the situation, because if I'm not willing to do the work, then that's not fair to anybody in the situation. And so that's the first energy, that they have to both start being honest with themselves. And then the second energy that comes through is that there is some actual deception between the two, that they're actually being dishonest with each other as well. So whether that is your divine counterpart's being dishonest about his or her connection with you, or just not being honest with their feelings toward each other, not being honest about what they're experiencing. There's deception going both ways. They're both deceiving themselves to a certain extent, and they're both deceiving the other to a certain extent. So how do they resolve this karma? Is they step into their power and start getting honest and saying, you know what, this is not what I want. I'm not happy. This is not fulfilling for me. There are some things that need to change if this is going to continue, and if it's not going to change, then it can't continue. Or being honest and saying, no matter what, this is not going to be a situation that I want to be in long term, because it's not what I want. I know what I want, and it's not you, and it's not this. And that is really, really, really hard to say to people. I have to be honest, it's a difficult thing. I understand why people don't necessarily like to have that conversation, because it's just not fun. It's just not fun to say to somebody, I'm just not that into you, and I never will be that into you. And no matter what you do, no matter how awesome you are, you're not the one for me. And that is a really tough conversation to have, but it's really the most honest and actually the kindest thing that you can do, because the reality is that if you're in a relationship that you're not completely 110% like, fuck yeah, this is my person and I'm so excited and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with them. If you're kind of like, meh, okay, I guess this will do, and you're not really in it and you're seeking affection elsewhere or whatever, then you're not doing that person any favors, because they deserve to have somebody that's like, fuck yeah about them. They deserve to have somebody that's like, I can't wait to see this person. I can't wait to see their face. I want to do everything with them, and they make me feel alive, and I just want to serve them. And they deserve that too, just like you do. And so as long as you're not being honest with each other about your lack of passion and investment in the relationship and in the other, you're not doing anybody any favors. So how you resolve this karma? Get honest, step into your power, tell the truth about what's going on. Yeah, and I know that's not fun, but that's the best way to go about it. So I feel like I want to pull a couple more cards around the energies of this upcoming week. So I really do feel like there's some things that are happening this week that are pretty significant. So I'm going to shuffle again and pull 3 more cards around the, I don't want to necessarily say the outcome, but overall energies of the week between the two. So we see where where they are individually, we see where their karma is, we see what brought it together. But let's see what the state of the union is for this relationship. Although state of the union is probably not the right term, because that's what I use when I'm talking about divine connections. Okay, so what is going on? What is the relationship energy this week? Ah, that's funny. Truth. Foundation and achievements. And awareness. There's a lot of big energy. So if you see this, like these, this one, this one, this one, that one, that one. So all of there's a lot. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major arcanas in this reading. So there is big energy. It's interesting because I was sensing that this morning, and I was sensing it over the weekend as well. But so the first card that came up is truth. So what I'm getting from this is that this whole self-deception piece that has been going on is the veil is going to start falling apart. And I think that, and I see this too with the awareness. Look at that. We talked about this, the karma and the crown chakra, and look what's lit up there, the crown chakra. So there is definitely some truth and awareness that's happening this week, that there's going to be some enlightenment that's going on, where they're going to both start to see, they're going to both start being honest with themselves and possibly with each other. There may be some conversations that are had. There may be somebody that initiates a conversation and says, you know, are you happy? Is this where you want to be? Like, what's going on? Things seem off, things seem different, like let's have conversations. Or it may not even be that things seem off or things seem different. It may just be that somebody finally decides to say, you know, I'm going to speak my truth. I'm going to stand in my power and speak my truth and let the cards fall where they may, because that's the most honest and fair thing that I can do. So this foundation and achievements card is what came up next. And this is the energy of the relationship. And so I feel like there's some, a little bit of nostalgia going on, where they're looking at the things that they've accomplished so far in this life, that they've done together, whether that's business or family or whatever it might be, that there have been some achievements, there have been some successes, there have been some really great things, excuse me, that have come through for them. And there's some nostalgia around that. But they're also looking at it and saying, like, look, the foundation of this is not solid enough. You know, there's not enough passion. There's not enough love. There's not enough compatibility. And the things that really make a long-term connection work are absent here. And they're just not going to be here. There is no solid foundation for this to go forward. And I think they're really both recognizing that. That there are certain things that you have to have in a relationship. It's just the reality is that if you have different values, different passions, different desires, different things that you want to accomplish, that over time your connection is going to completely die and just go away, because there's nothing to maintain it. So I really get the sense that that's where they're both at right now. Like I said, the nostalgia, they're both kind of looking back at the past and saying, like, you know, look at what we've been able to accomplish. Look at what we've been able to go get done and go through or whatnot. So really a sense of celebrating that and recognizing that the foundation just isn't there. It's just not there. And again, I'm looking at the fact that their backs are turned, that it feels this sense of like looking back at the past and recognizing that, that things are just not what they thought they wanted them to be, or they don't have the foundation to support going forward. And they're both becoming aware. So this is that tapping into that higher awareness. So I get the sense of listening to their spirit guides a little bit more, listening to their intuition, listening to their higher knowing, and recognizing that despite what they thought that the awareness is coming through that this is not what I want. This is not where I want to be. This is not what I want to do long term. And how do I take steps to move forward? What do I do to move out of this? And yeah, it's a very, the energy that I'm getting is not like a huge like conflict. I don't get like a huge energy of like a battle or anything like that, like, you know, huge fight and dramatic kind of breakup or anything like that. What I really get from it is this really bittersweet, I appreciate everything that you've been to me and brought to my life, and I also need to acknowledge that it's over. So I get the sense that that the parting, and at least energetically, that's taking place on a spiritual level is really a kind parting. It's not violent or mean or cruel. It's just a very we both recognize that this has run its course, and we're going to go ahead and step out with dignity and holding our self-respect and our integrity intact to move out of this without, you know, making it really nasty. So that's the reading for this week for the karmic situations, and it feels really good. It feels I'm sure it doesn't probably feel really good for them because they're going through a lot, but it really feels like there's some forward motion happening. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if some of you get word that there have been shifts in the relationship between your divine counterpart and their karmic. So I hope this reading was useful. Please let me know if it resonates in the comments. I always want to hear if it's resonating and if you're getting a lot out of it. Or if you need something different. So please feel free to do that too. And again, if you have any questions, you can reach me on Instant Go. I'll post the link in the description box, or it's on the main page, my main About Me page. And you can also reach out to me and book a private reading if you're interested. So I hope you have a great week. I'll talk with you soon. Bye.